Independent
There are
reversals in
285 species of
terrestriality,
squirrels
squirrels
located
of the
across the globe.
Sciurdae family support ecologically mediated modes of adaptation.
The Sciurdae family is a useful model species for studying the evolution of genetic traits. There are 285 species of squirrels located across the globe, with fossil records indicating that they date back 36 million years to North America. The goal of this experiment was to determine which modes of locomotion were ancestral and which evolved convergently in the Sciurdae family. From this study, we can better understand mammal adaptations and test whether shifts were due to niches or biogeographical change. The experimenters' approach included a combination of extensive research, primarily using writings by Ronald M. Nowak, an up-to-date phylogenetic diagram, and a directory of various types of locomotion in squirrels. The squirrels were sorted into 4 morphological categories: arboreal, intermediate, gliding, and terrestrial. They are also categorized by geographic location into Africa, Eurasia, North and Central America, and South America. The above phylogenetic tree shows an ancestral state estimation of locomotion in the Sciurdae family. The above geological events likely affected the diversification of squirrels, as certain species migrated while others stayed behind. These events allowed for ecological speciation as continent barriers separate squirrels and species adapted and evolved differently based on the pressures of and resources in their ecosystem.
The above phylogenetic tree maps out the continental location of the Sciurdae family from 5,000 biogeographic stochastic mappings. The branches show possible routes of dispersion across continents over the last 35 million years. Our model is a simplified one that focused on the overall dispersal of squirrels from continent to continent rather than the probabilities of members of the Sciurdae species inhabiting certain continents. Bayesian inference is a method of determining the probability that a hypothesis is true based on new and updated findings. In this study, Bayesian inference was implemented on a database of phylogenetic pathways and used to compare each model to its posterior probability, the probability that the proposed model was true based on recent observations. This phylogenetic software also helps to cluster the squirrels into evolutionary locomotion subfamilies and tribes. The model with the highest posterior probability was then used to propose the most likely phylogenetic tree for the evolution in Sciurdae. The data supported that the locomotive mode of the most recent common ancestor was arboreal. The researchers also found evidence that gliding evolved from one tribe, most likely forming during the shift from arboreal to intermediate locomotion, and that terrestrial locomotion probably evolved 4 independent times from arboreal locomotion. The researchers also used a model with the highest posterior probability to find that the species of squirrels we have today descended from Eurasia, not North America as previously thought. The findings from the data shed light on how locomotion modes evolved convergently in different continents regardless of adaptation towards different ecological niches prior to colonization of new continents.
All of the Sciurd subfamilies reversed to arboreality from their terrestrial ancestors. Reversal to arboreality is related to increased endurance in species that have similar body masses because they aren't as exposed to predation, disease, or other environmental dangers. Actually, it is a fact that arboreal squirrels live longer than terrestrial squirrels. Reversal to terrestriality, which is the primitive locomotion of rodents, happened 4 times in Sciurdae. One example is the tribe Sciurdae, in which 3 lineages reversed to terrestrial motion in southeastern Asia. This happened because of the radiation of the region, in which sea level fluxes led to scattering through the continental shelf during low sea levels and geographical separation on islands during high sea levels. Evolution to gliding occurred first in Eurasia, which then spread to North America and Asia. Gliding evolved once in the Pteromeini tribe. It is linked with foraging strategies where gliders eat a diet of leaves of poor quality and plant exudates but move quicker between foraging patches, which gives them more time to forage. Gliding squirrels are nocturnal and exposed to mesopredators such as carnivorous mammals and owls. Gliding helps them escape predators because they can leap, control their landings on trees, and lessen their exposure to predators on the ground. Like arboreality, gliding is associated with greater lifespans. All of these results suggest that different tribes experienced motion changes while living in the same area and then colonized new continents. Social and phenotypic adaptations needed for locomotion changes could be due to ecological factors like competition and exploitation of different ecological niches and resources. In conclusion, changes in locomotion could be explained because the tribes adapted to new ecological niches in Eurasia and then colonized new continents, which caused either the reversal or evolution to various locomotive modes. This research paper is directly related to much of the information discussed in class. The study relies on the use of phylogenetic trees to visually show the relationship of the species and pathways that evolution occurred in. The different species of the squirrels were divided up into their subsequent categories based upon their distinct morphological differences, such as the skin flap of the gliding squirrel. They were also divided into their categories based upon their biological speciation and phylogenetic differences. The main goal of the research was to determine which mechanism of evolution caused so many different species of squirrels, whether that be natural selection based upon their different environments and niches, or lack of gene flow because of their different locations.